Welcome to the webinar. My name is Shelly Hitz. I'm the owner of Author Audience Academy, and I'm on a mission to help you reach more people with your message. It's time to let your light shine. Today, we're going to talk all about writing in community. You know, it's so easy in our world, especially digitally and online, just to get into our little corner of the world, to isolate ourselves, and yet our writing actually works best, and we create the best books, and even our marketing can work better when we do it in community. So I'm going to be talking about that today in today's webinar. Let me go over to screen share and we will get started. All right, so as we go through the webinar, I'm going to have there may be different questions that come up, and if you can just save those for the end, I will have a Q&A session at the end that I will answer your questions. Just write them down if you think of them, save your questions, but I am going to ask you to interact. So I want you to have, you know, your typewriter out or whatever you're typing, typewriter, your keyboard. And Shelly, this is 2017, right? By the way, I would love to have a vintage typewriter. That would be so fun. But go ahead and save your comments till the end. And I'm going to go ahead and get the chat box up here. And I'm going to go ahead and let's see here. Actually, let me. This is my first time using Zoom for this type of webinar. I'm going to stop my video. And I'm just going to get the screen up. All right, I think we are set. Thank you for your patience. Okay, I have the chat box up. I can see everyone. So you can still chat. I want you to interact, but save your questions for the end. So how I open my webinars is in prayer. So let me open in prayer and then we will get started. So God, I just thank you so much for today. I thank you for every person that is watching this webinar live or is watching the recording. I just pray for them right now. I thank you for the calling you have on their life. I thank you for what you have, the gifts you have given them. I thank you for what you've put on their hearts to share with the world. I pray that this webinar today would encourage them, would inspire them, would give them ideas. And I pray that you would give me the exact words to share that everyone needs to hear. I pray that you would be glorified, and I pray this in Jesus' name, amen. So I love this quote from Mother Teresa. I can do things you cannot do, or I can do things you cannot. You can do things I cannot. Together we can do great things. And I love it so much because it talks about the sense of community. And how many of you believe in community? If you believe in that, just type yes in the comments and let me know that you also believe in community. Carol's saying yes, Carmen yes, Linda yes, seeing lots of yeses. And I just want to remind you that for all of you that stay till the end, I will have a free bonus. It's the truth about book reviews. You're going to get it as a PDF, and I'm going to give this just as a gift to you. No credit card required, just for being here for the full training today. So why listen to me on this topic of writing in community? Well, today I'm going to be talking about prayer teams and beta groups and reviewers. And I personally have written and published over 40 books. So this is not something that I just started last month. I didn't just publish a Kindle book and I'm trying to teach you all about this. I've been doing this for a while, and I've learned a lot of things the hard way. And I've actually sold books. I was actually counting yesterday as I was preparing for this presentation. I use an online software that tracks everything, and it can track it all the way back to the beginning. That was amazing. And if you'd like to know what software I use, you can just email me, Shelly@shellyhitz.com, and I will send that to you. But 124,612 books as of yesterday, February, what was it? February 21st, 2017. I was like, wow, that's just amazing to me because I never set out to be a writer. I never dreamed of writing a book. I was a physical therapist, and now here I've sold over 124,000 books. And then we've given away over 660,000 ebooks on online retailers like Kindle and Smashwords and Barnes & Noble and so forth. I've built book review teams, and now I have almost 1,000 people on my book review teams. And again, I counted yesterday. I went through every book that I've published on Amazon, and I have had 2,328 people post different reviews for each of my books over the years. Now, I had never counted that up before. I was like, wow, praise God. That is amazing. And I just feel so privileged and honored that so many people have posted reviews for my books. And then I launched my most recent book, Broken Crayons Still Color, with a beta group of 150 people. My book launched with 50 reviews, and it launched at #1 in its category. So I'm not just teaching you from theory. I'm not just regurgitating information that I've learned from someone else. I'm teaching you things I've learned myself. I've learned the hard way, and I'm teaching you things that work. They've worked for me, and I'm not promising that they're going to work exactly the same way for you, but they work. And so that's what I'm excited to share with you today. And so I went to school to be a physical therapist. And in physical therapy school, I had to take gross anatomy. And a lot of people do not like that class. Like, I had my roommate, she couldn't eat meat like the whole time. But honestly, I loved it. Let me know, what was your favorite class in college? Let me know in the chat box. My favorite, or in high school or college, whatever, let me know, what was your favorite class? So my favorite class was gross anatomy. In fact, we were split up into teams, and I was the person on my team that opened the bag and I made the first cut in our cadaver. I mean, it just fascinated me how the human body works, how it's all connected, the nerves, just everything. It just fascinated me. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm seeing a lot of people, their favorite subject was English. That was actually my worst subject, ironic enough, and yet here God is now using me to write books and to teach authors. But I loved anatomy, and it was in 2011, I resigned my physical therapy job to go into full-time ministry and business with my husband. And so I went from a job that was pretty active. I was up and I was walking around and I was helping patients, and I still had a lot of notes and I had to do typing and writing. But I went from a job that was very active to a job that was very sedentary. And how many of you know, as writers, you sit at a computer and you do a lot of typing? If you can relate to that, just type yes in the comments. I was doing a lot of computer work, and although I had specialized in ergonomics as a physical therapist, I ended up getting a repetitive injury from my new job as a writer and online marketer and all of that. And I literally could not work for an entire month. My arms, my wrists, they were in pain. Like, I literally could not type, could not work. And I was like starting to freak out. I'm thinking, oh no, what am I gonna do? This is this is my job. And like I said, I have a background in physical therapy, and my specialty was ergonomics. So I did everything I knew to do. And, I was working on the forearms, and I was doing all the exercises, and I was doing the heat and the ice and doing everything I knew to do, and nothing helped. And so my mom was telling me about this chiropractor that she went to, is with Maximize Living. And she says, Shelly, I looked it up, and they have a Maximize Living chiropractor in Colorado Springs. at the time I was against chiropractors, like physical therapists are really not into that. And so I was like, oh, I don't know. Well, finally I was desperate enough. I had not been able to work for a month. And I was like, okay, I'm willing to try anything. And my mom had really good help, really good results. So I went to the chiropractor. Well, what they told me immediately, I had been focusing entirely on my forearms and my wrists because that's where the pain was. And I should have known better because I was a physical therapist. I took gross anatomy. But sometimes you can't see the forest for the trees, especially in your own life. But the chiropractor told me, Shelly, you have a double crush syndrome. What's happening is the nerves are getting impacted and like pinched at your neck and in your forearms. And if we don't address the neck, you will never get relief. And I was like, oh, because it's like a garden hose pinched at 2 spots. I was just addressing the one spot. And what I found out is, by getting some adjustments, doing some exercises, changing my workstation, I got relief. Finally got relief. And I was able to continue working. And what it showed me, though, is that I was focusing on just the symptoms. I was focusing on just the area where I was having pain, and yet the core of the issue was actually coming from a completely different place that I wasn't even looking at. I wasn't even paying attention to that. And if I wouldn't have been woken up to the fact that it was my neck as well as my arms, I might not be here today working and doing what I'm doing today. And in the same way, I believe there's a lot of writers, especially Christian writers, whether or not you're writing books that are Christian or not, that are having issues. You're facing discouragement. There's issues with writer's block. You're having tech problems. There's different issues with just finding the right editor or the finances to fund your project. And yet you're focusing on the symptoms. You're focusing on that issue. And there's really something deeper going on. And that thing that's deeper is there's a spiritual battle. Ephesians 6 in the Bible says our fight is not against flesh and blood. It's against the spirits, the spiritual world. And many times there is a spiritual battle going on that you don't even see. You may not even be thinking about right now. Just like I was just focusing on my forearms. I was not thinking about my neck. But it was when I finally got to the root of the issue, I was able to have relief. And that's why I really believe that there is power in having a prayer team. I believe every Christian author should have a prayer team. And you can ask a lot of my Author Audience Academy members when they talk to me about tech issues, or they talk to me about writer's block or issues with, different things. And I'll just be like, do you have a prayer team? And if you have a prayer team set up, are you emailing them regularly every week, with requests? And if you don't have a prayer team set up yet, get one set up right now, because I believe so many of us have issues and problems that could just be solved if we fought it on the spiritual side of it. And if you believe that as well, just type amen in the comments. So there's 3 reasons why I believe every Christian writer, every Christian author should have a prayer team. And the first, like I said, there's a very real spiritual battle. My husband and I have been professional speakers. Professional just meaning we get paid for what we do as a speaker. We've been professional speakers for years, and we often would speak in different arenas like Christian schools, camps, retreats, things like that. And many times we would set up, we would test everything would be working perfectly, and I would get up to speak. And I remember very specifically one instance in particular. I was speaking to a group of teenage girls on the topic of sex. And it's a very powerful talk. And it's one of those that I know it's opposed in the spiritual realm every single time. But this particular time, I tested everything. It was working perfectly. And I get up to speak and nothing would work. Oh, It was so frustrating. We call them tech demons. And sometimes what happens, we believe, is in the spiritual realm, the enemy tries to stop us. So I would always have backups. I'd have backups of my slides printed off, backups. I mean, I'd have backups of everything, backups on a thumb drive. Well, that day I had backups of my slides, and I just went on without my PowerPoint, and God worked in amazing ways. But there is a very real enemy that when you are writing, whether or not you're, whatever you're writing, if it's going to make an impact in eternity, if you are a believer in Christ, you better believe that it could be opposed by the enemy. And so there's a very real spiritual battle, and that's why we need a prayer covering. Number 2, your message has an eternal impact. I don't know what you're writing, but if your message does have an eternal impact, then it is powerful. And I'll tell you what, when I was writing my book, Broken Crayons Still Color, it's basically my life story, my life testimony. That book, I have never felt a spiritual attack so strongly as when I was writing that book. And I do not get depressed. I'm a very upbeat, steady type person normally, positive, upbeat. I felt what I'd probably call depression almost the entire time I was writing that book. Like, it makes me want to cry just thinking of it. It was 5 months of like really, really intense, like just, it was intense and it was hard. And I know it's because of the type of message I was writing in that book. But, the third reason is that God has provided the body of Christ to help one another. We're not to be isolated. We're not to be off on our own. We're not to be just doing things on our own. We have the body of Christ for a reason. And have you ever heard the illustration of the sheep? So like when a sheep is in the herd, and it's in community, it's, there with the shepherd, but when it's isolated, it's more susceptible and it's easier prey for its enemy, the wolf. And I really believe in the same way, if we're just trying to write and do this thing in isolation, we are easier prey for the enemy. See, Joida, is that how you say your name? I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but she says, wow, I thought it was the only one. Thanks for sharing. And see, that's what happens when we're in community. We realize we're not the only one. Like, we are going through this together. We are walking through this together, and it strengthens us, it encourages us, and it helps us to be finishers of what God has called us to do. It helps us to finish that book, to finish the marketing, to finish the thing, to do the next thing, and to keep moving forward in what God has called us to do. In the Bible, there's multiple reasons and multiple scriptures of examples of the body of Christ. And just like when I was studying gross anatomy and how all of the different parts work together, we are the body of Christ working together. We all have different gifts. And you know what happens? When you reach out to people and ask them to be part of your prayer team, you're allowing the body of Christ to do what it's created to do. You're allowing people to do what they were created to do, which might be encouragement and prayer and support. And when you think, oh, I don't want to ask anyone. I don't want to bother anyone. I don't want to feel needy. I don't want people to think that I'm not strong enough, or I'm not positive, or that, I need help. You know what? You might be keeping someone else from using their gifts and their abilities, because we're supposed to work together. We're supposed to lean on each other. We're supposed to help each other, and we all have different gifts. Yeah, Peggy says, oh my, this is exactly how I've been feeling writing books on deliverance. Oh, Peggy, there's a reason. There is a reason for sure. But I just want to share with you a little bit about my results with the prayer team, and then about my Author Audience Academy members, because this is something I tell everyone from the very beginning. set up your prayer team, because you will face obstacles, you will face opposition, you will face resistance, you may face discouragement, you may face depression, you may face writer's block, you may, the enemy may try to steal your manuscript. Make sure it's backed up, please. But you're going to face stuff. And so set up a prayer team, have that support where 2 or 3 are gathered. It says that he is there. And so I set up my prayer team a while back. We have a lady in our church, her name's Ruth Mott. She has traveled around the world teaching about setting up prayer teams for ministries. So she's like, if you're in women's ministry, if you're in music ministry, whatever ministry you're in, she said, you need a prayer team. And I was thinking about it. And I thought, Christian authors, we have a ministry as well. It's the ministry of the written word. And yet so many authors do not see it as a ministry. So I went ahead after she encouraged me to do it. She said, Shelly, you're an author and a speaker. You need to have a prayer team. So I set up my prayer team several years ago. And when I was writing my book, Broken Crayons Still Color, like I said, I faced one of the strongest attacks I've ever felt, probably in my life. And I realized at that time, I need to be writing out requests and writing my prayer team every week. And for 9 months, for 5 months, while I was writing and launching that book, I sent weekly prayer updates. And now I still send regular updates, but during that season, it was every single week. I had a calendar reminder and I did not miss a week. And I would have very specific requests. The Bible says we have not because we ask not. And so I really believe we also need to ask specifically for specific requests. And so what I would do is I would send out very specific requests, and then something would happen that week and it would totally answer the request that I had. And when I would go to send out the next week's request, all of a sudden it'd be like, oh, that was something I asked them to pray for last week, and it was answered. And the next week answered, the next week answered, the next week answered. And I still believe that God is answering because this book is selling. It is selling well, and that's something I asked them to pray for. Excuse me, my nose is running a little bit. But I saw just amazing results by weekly emailing my prayer team with specific results or with specific requests. And you know what? I don't have 1 million people on my prayer team. I have, I think, less than 20. And yet I know that they are committed and they're praying and people would reply back. And so it was so powerful. Yeah, Tanya says, wow, so good. Thank you. And so this was just a few of my Author Audience Academy members' results. Gwen Ebner says, this week I decided to start a prayer team. And I have a video about this on my YouTube channel as well. She says, I've been trying to complete my book and I've had to stop several times because of health issues. So an obstacle could be a health issue. She said, I was able to set up my prayer team updates by using MailChimp. I kept it very simple so it wouldn't be a lot of work for me to send out the updates on a regular basis. It was free, which was great. And she said, I guess we can use MailChimp for all kinds of different reasons. Jennifer Waddle says, I have to say, after Shelly's encouragement yesterday, so if somebody, like I said, if somebody mentions in our private Facebook group about having issues, I normally, one of the first things I will ask them is, do you have a prayer team and are you emailing them regularly? But she says, after Shelly's encouragement yesterday to call on my small prayer team to pray for some very serious website issues, I got an email of apology from the designer I had to let go. Even without the apology, I had a great sense of peace after asking 3 close friends to pray. And then Kim Stedman wrote this long one, so I had to write it out for you. She said, Shelly, I want to share this with you and to anyone else in the group that perhaps hasn't formed their prayer team. Shelly knows I was very resistant about this, and Kim was, because I encouraged her to set up a prayer team, and she was like, oh, yeah, I just don't want to ask people, and, it just feels like, like too much. I'm putting out, putting people out. But she was really strongly resisting it. And she says, but she helped me really think about why, and then encouraged me to break through and do it. So I did it last week. On Monday, I asked 2 other women, she says where 2 or 3 are gathered, that I respect here on Facebook. By Wednesday, I had sent my first email with my prayer needs. Then I sent my second email yesterday. So I got a Facebook message this morning from one that says, "Good morning, Kim. I just wanted to take a moment to thank you for thinking of me to join your prayer intercession team. You don't know this, but I was not good at praying. The fact that you asked me to pray for you and for your prayer journal project has been a complete blessing. And this is only week 2. I already find I'm being more fluent in prayer. Are you seeing how this can actually help other people too? It's not just about you receiving, it's about them receiving their blessing too, and them being able to do their part in the body of Christ too." She said, "I asked God to get better, and he sent you to bless me. I can't wait to hear all the blessings this project will bring." And Kim went on to say, "The word humble doesn't even begin to describe my feelings right now. All I can say is that I now realize that creating my prayer team is a 2-way street. It empowers me because I have a team praying for me, and especially specific needs that I take to them. But being part of the team has empowered them with faith because they can see their prayers coming to fruition as I keep them updated. Answered prayer is one of the greatest faith builders. Thank you again, Shelley, for your gentle yet firm push to form my prayer team." And then she says, "Now in the tone of the famous Wolf brand chili commercial, neighbor, how long has it been since you emailed or formed your prayer team?" Well, that's too long. And I am 41, that I don't know, that must have been a commercial that came out before me, so I looked it up. How many of you remember this commercial? If you remember, just type yes.
Neighbor, how long has it been since you had a big, thick, steaming bowl of Wolf brand chili? Well, that's too long. Made from beef cuts only, branded right on the label. You won't see that on any other can of chili I know of. Just on Wolf brand, the 100% beef cuts only chili. By the way, neighbor, how long since you had a real old-fashioned sloppy joe? Try new Wolf brand sloppy joes. Quick and easy and mighty tasty.
So she says, "Neighbor, how long has it been since you emailed or formed your prayer team?" And let me see. And so I want to encourage you, if you have not started a prayer team, to get it started today, if possible. If not today, tomorrow. I want you to get this started. How many of you are willing to get your prayer team started? Or if you already have a prayer team, let me know. I already have one in the comments. Carol says yes. So now I'm going to go into the how. Yeah, Linda says ready and willing. Awesome. The how. So the first thing is you simply have to ask. And now I have worked with hundreds of authors in my group coaching program, Author Audience Academy. I talk with them every day in our private Facebook group. I'm listening to them. I'm hearing from them. And usually when I ask them to set up, if they've set up a prayer team, I send them, the video I created on it, and, it tells all the whys and all of that. I get pushback and I get resistance. And a lot of the people that are part of my tribe and that follow me, they're givers. They give, and they don't like asking. Are you one of those people that is a giver and it's hard for you to ask? Or is it easy for you to ask? Just type hard or easy in the comments. Carol says, great idea. I have people praying, but not particular for this. I might ask some Christian writers I know to join too. Yes, definitely ask them to pray specifically for your book. Peggy says, already have them, but we use it when I write. Yes. Joida says, need to start one ASAP. Yes. Diane says, I honestly thought of having a prayer team specifically to help me write better. I'll do it. Good. Yeah, Diane says hard, Peggy hard, Carol hard to ask, don't want to be a bother. Karen says, I have a small prayer team. It's hard to ask. Tanya, hard. Carol says, Strang says, hard and giver. Evelyn says, easy to ask, but haven't asked a team, but a couple of people. Yeah, so you can still call it a team if you have 2 or 3 people. It doesn't have to be big. And that's what I was trying to, just remind you earlier when I was talking about it. It doesn't have to be a lot of people. It can be 2 or 3. It can be 10. It can be a small amount, but we have to ask. And I was talking to one of my friends, and she does VIP coaching with clients that are Christian authors as well. And she recommends the same thing. And so one of her clients was having a technical issue, and she said she recommended that she reach out and ask for prayer. And this particular person was like, well, I'm writing a book on hope, and I'm the one that's always encouraging other people. What will people think if I'm asking for prayer? They'll think that something's wrong with me, or they'll think that that I'm not, that person offering hope anymore. But to be honest, when I'm vulnerable and when I reach out to somebody, and I'm not saying post this publicly on Facebook, I'm saying having 2 or 3 people, maybe 10 people that you're emailing privately. So I'm talking about a private request. And when I do that, it actually, I think, increases people's respect for me. They see I'm a real person too. They see I struggle too. And I honestly don't think it will decrease someone's opinion of you. And like I mentioned before, it actually allows other people to play their role in the body of Christ. Like Kim said, her prayer team, they were like, I'm actually learning to pray more, and it's growing my prayer life, and it's helping me. And so you never know the blessing someone else may get from being part of your prayer team. And so you may also want to reach out and be on someone else's prayer team. Maybe you want to give back to somebody else because you're also asking others to pray for you. That's fine. Feel free, to give and, do that in other ways, but we need to ask. So what I did when I was first forming a prayer team, I'm very active on Facebook, and that's where people are really connected with me. So on my Facebook profile, I just reached out and I said, if there's anyone that really believes in what I do in my ministry, the types of books I write, and would be willing to pray for me on a regular basis, simply leave a comment or private message me. And so what I had happen is several people either commented or private messaged me and let me know they were willing. But for you, maybe you don't want to put it out there publicly. Maybe you have a few people in mind and you just reach out to them privately through email or text message or private message. Whatever you do, you have to ask. And just like, I mentioned earlier, the Bible says we have not because we ask not. And that's in relation to God and prayer. We also need to ask other people and, be in prayer about it and ask God, like, who should I ask and who would be a good fit? And don't take it personally if somebody, isn't a good fit for you. I just did an interview for my podcast. It'll be published probably in the next couple months because we're a little bit backed up right now, but she was saying that one of the powerful things about being part of Author Writings Academy, she formed a prayer team, and she said, one of the ladies that she asked, it ended up not working out and being a good fit for her. And she says, that's okay, because I have my other prayer teams or prayer members, but, we have to ask. And then I encourage you to use a subscriber email list. So like Gwen had mentioned, she set it up through MailChimp, whatever email subscriber list, subscriber service you use. You can also use like a blind copy email. You can also, use group text. I'm not a fan personally of group text. I really don't like getting added to group texts and then, being involved in everyone's text. But when I was speaking on a regular basis, for the teams and, when we were really feeling that spiritual attack at times for our speaking engagements, there was a small group of people that I would text when I was going to be speaking. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go on to stage now. Please pray for me. And even now I have several people, and I even asked them to pray for me today because I was feeling a spiritual attack today just because I'm going to be telling you about this. And so you can just set it up through an email subscriber list. I like that because people can unsubscribe at any time. They don't have to be locked into it. They can feel free to leave my list at any time without hurting my feelings. And it works easier that way. And then simply, send out weekly updates, even if it's just, thank you for your prayers, continue to pray for this. And I really encourage you to make them as specific as possible. All right, so that is number one. And I really believe if every single one of you just took nothing away from this except that first thing about setting up a prayer team, you're going to see so much fruit in your writing, in your publishing, in your marketing, just from taking that one step. However, I have two more things I want to share with you. And the next is the power of community. We lived in Findlay, Ohio. I actually lived there for 20 years. And then when my husband and I got married, we lived there for, I don't know, I think it was like 14 years or so, and together. But I lived there for 20 years, and we did not have any problems with flooding until recently. And one of the first floods that we had, my mom was living on a street that got flooded. And it was during the day. My mom was in New York City visiting her sister, my aunt. She wasn't even there to take care of it, to do anything. And so she calls me, I'm at work, and she left a message. I was able to get the message. So I got a hold of my boss, and everyone in our whole city knew what was happening. Our city was getting underwater. Have you any of you ever been part of a flood in your area? If so, just type yes in the comments. But my boss was like, Shelly, feel free to go ahead and leave, because pretty much, everything was shutting down in our town. And he said, go ahead, feel free to close down the clinic and go help your mom. And so I just found this picture. I was digging and digging and digging through pictures because it was before we really did a lot of digital pictures on our phones. This is a picture of my husband and I wading through the water to get to my mom's house. I mean, I just remember like the powerful feeling of like, oh my goodness. And it wasn't stopping. It was only rising. Yeah, Carol and Jeff said yes. The floodwaters were only just continuing to rise. Now, the reason I even have this picture is someone from my work lived by my mom, and he saw us walking by, took our picture, and then gave it to me later. But, oh my goodness, we're wading through the water. My mom's not even there. We get to her house, and we start moving everything up, because she just had a one-floor home, moving everything up we could, trying to do everything we could. And everyone in her neighborhood was pitching in, helping each other out, doing things they could, and the floodwaters kept rising. My mom's car was in her garage because someone dropped her off at the airport. Her garage, or her car got flooded, but thankfully her house was lifted up a little bit on the foundation, just enough. I mean, it just literally missed her main floor by just an inch or two. Just an inch or two, but she lost a bunch of things in her garage. She lost pictures and videos and mementos and things because she was cleaning out and had a bunch of stuff in the garage. But when we were helping her, we would we had to move all this stuff, and there was just piles and piles and piles of stuff along the streets. And you could, the smell of the flooding. We went over and we helped other friends that their house was getting flooded. And it brought our town and our community together in a way that we had never seen it before. I lived there for 20 years, and I never saw the kind of community and helping each other out that we saw during that time. But there is power in community. There is power when you come together around a cause. When there is something going on and there's something happening and you come together, it is powerful. And so that's where I want to talk to you about the power of community in using a beta group. And it's a way to get honest feedback, but honestly, it can be a powerful way to build community that lasts even beyond your beta group. I used a beta group for my book, Broken Crayons Still Color, and it was so powerful. What is a beta group? So do any of you know? If you know what a beta group is, type in the comments what your definition of a beta group is. Just give a minute. Carol says a test group. Carol D says, I don't know what it is. Yeah, so, you know, if you think about like, if you've ever been in a corporate environment, they will often have beta tests. And I worked in the corporate environment. I worked at Whirlpool Corporation, and I was the physical therapist that treated all of their employees for overuse injuries, ergonomics, all that stuff. And they would often do beta tests. Yeah, Peggy says a focus group. And it would be a way to test something before they would roll it out to the entire corporation. Well, a beta group is something that can help you to get feedback. It can help you to make your book even better before you publish it. So you're giving your content, you're sharing it with a small group of people to get feedback. And there's 3 ways that a beta group can help you. Now, there's many more ways. I'm just going to talk about 3 ways right now while you're publishing a book. First of all, you get honest feedback from your target audience. So when I was forming my beta group for Broken Crayons Still Color, I actually had 150 people sign up and that were interested. I had an email list, they signed up, and then I had a Facebook group. And, you know, in the Facebook group, I would ask questions, I had polls, I would, ask for feedback. And I already had my first draft of my book written. And what I personally did was I would finish 1 chapter every week, and then I would record a video live in that Facebook group that corresponded with that week's content. You know, I'd have to create the PowerPoint, create the presentation. It was very intense, you know, create the fill in the blank viewer's guide. And I created all that stuff for each week, 1 week at a time. So that's the way I did it. It worked well for me, but you can also just give them your entire first draft manuscript and get feedback as well. But I had, I think, 12 chapters in my book. And from the feedback that I got from my members, I ended up having 6 chapters, an introduction and 6 chapters. So it ended up being 7 weeks, a 7-week study. And one of the things that I really realized as I was going is that these kind of studies typically are 6 to 7 weeks, and that it was, you know, it's kind of intense at times, and, you know, 12 weeks was just going to be way too long. And I got a lot of really good feedback, and I cut out almost half of my book. Now, I'm not saying you're going to do that, but it was such powerful feedback. It was such good feedback. Not only that, a beta group can be accountability if you're in the process to get your book done. So each week I knew I was going to be sending my beta group the next chapter. And so it was accountability, and especially because this book was so difficult to write, it was so hard, there were so many things. I was finishing a coloring page every week. I mean, it was just so much content. I really needed that accountability. But then also, the beta group can be a strong street team or book review team when your book is published. So I really had a strong sense of community that formed in that Facebook group with my beta group. And they were the ones that, you know, they posted reviews for me. I had 50 reviews posted before my launch. I now have 66 reviews for that book. They shared, they were kind of like my book launch team as well. They shared about the launch. They, you know, just so many things that they were able then to help me to build buzz because they were part of the process. And Carol says, what is a strong street team? A street team is just kind of like a book launch team. Like, grassroots. You know, you think about like a grassroots marketing effort, you know, a street team or a book launch team. It's just people that are going to help you share about the book. So they're going to post on their social media, they're going to share with their friends, they're going to share with their email list about your book. And like I said, I had 150 people in my beta group, had 50 reviews that were posted by the launch. During my launch, my book became #1 in its category on Amazon and really had a great start to my book. But not only that, like I said, they helped me to craft and to edit and to change the entire book. I mean, it was really, really powerful feedback. I would even like ask them feedback on the PowerPoint slides that I was creating for the videos. I would ask them feedback for the the prayer cards I was having created. And, you know, I got such powerful feedback every part of the process. It was so powerful. And so, you know, a beta group may or may not be what you want to do, but you can kind of think of it even as like proofreaders, that part of the process, or you can go all out and use a beta group kind of like I did with Broken Crayon Still Color and really involve them in the entire process. And it really becomes a community process. Now, the third part I want to talk about is how God often provides in unexpected ways. How many of you have found that to be true? If you have seen that in your own life, just type yes in the comments. So we moved to Colorado Springs in 2012, and where we live ended up being just 1.5 miles from the Waldo Canyon fire. It was a huge, huge fire, ended up destroying hundreds of homes, and we literally could see the flames from our home. So this is a video I took from my smartphone, and you can see the flames kicking up. This is Queens Canyon, and if any of you know where the Navigators publishing company or Glen area, it's in that area, and thankfully it didn't destroy those ministries grounds, but it was so close, and we saw the fire, and I just started, you know, being overcome, like, oh my goodness, what are we gonna do? You know, we need to evacuate, and they hadn't given us a mandatory evacuation yet. We actually, we were allowed to stay, but I mean, this was so close. It was literally 1.5 miles away, and I finally told CJ, I was like, we need to get out of here. We need to evacuate. Well, because we were one of the last places to evacuate in Colorado Springs, there were no hotels. There were no places to stay. Every place was completely booked. We had nowhere to go. We had just moved here. Like, we didn't even have a church yet. And I just posted on Facebook, you know, we're getting ready to evacuate. I don't know where we're gonna go. And it was interesting because we had been visiting some churches, and one of the churches where we visited, one of the girls and I became friends on Facebook. Well, she just happened to see my post, and she said, you know, my husband is in the military. He's gone right now. I'd be more than happy to host you in my home. And literally, just within minutes, we had a place to stay. Like, we literally thought we might have to drive to Kansas. Like, there was no place. I don't even think there was places in Denver available. Like, we didn't know where we were gonna be able to go. And God provided somebody for us. And so you may be in a situation where you're thinking, Shelly, I don't even know who would be on my beta group or who would be a reviewer for me. I don't even know. I have no one that could be a reviewer for me. Well, you know what? God provides in unexpected ways, and he provided for us that day. We had no one. We knew, we had kind of met a couple people, but we had just moved here. We didn't know anyone. We had no family. We had no friends, and he provided a place for us. And so as we talk about this, I want you to keep your heart open and know that God often provides in the most unexpected ways, and to keep your heart open and to trust in him to provide, not in just what you can see. And so I'm going to talk about a review team and how to get honest book reviews. So why are reviews important? Well, reviews are important for a lot of reasons. And, I've actually written an entire book on this, how to get honest reviews. And reviews provide social proof. reviews, actually do help sell books. They've done research, and it shows that many people's buying decisions online are based on reviews. If you look at reviews, when you go to buy a product on Amazon, type yes in the comments. I know I do. Lately I've been getting into art, and I've been buying some art supplies, and I will look at the reviews, and I will look at, the different products. I'll look at the reviews. I might do some Google searches too, but reviews, influence my buying decisions. And I know that's true for many, many people. Not only that, I've had members of Author Audience Academy, they'll launch a book with no reviews, and I'm like, what? No, you need at least one review. Because when you launch a book with no reviews, it's like launching to a ghost town. And people come to your page, there's not even 1 star, there's nothing. And it's like it's a ghost town. And it's like, who's even interested in this book? This book isn't even, nobody's even reading it. And it gives you this weird feeling. I mean, I don't know. I can barely take it until I get that first review on any of my books. I'm like, oh, I just want to get, a review on there, because until that point, it just seems like a ghost town. Yeah, a lot of you are saying you do look at reviews. So in 2012, my husband and I published 23 books. And when you publish 23 books in 1 year, that's a lot of reviews. And I was hustling. I was hustling. And I worked my butt off to get reviews, because what I really believe is that you should at least have around 10, maybe, more, as many as you can, but at least 10 reviews before, at least this is kind of my standard before I launched a book. And so that was 230 reviews just with those 23 books. And I was working so hard, and I was burning out. And I was like, there has to be a better way. There has to be a better way. And I racked my brain, and I've been in marketing online since 2004. And so, I love marketing, but I was getting tired. Do any of you get tired, like thinking about trying to get some book reviews? It can get tiring. And so my turning point was when I realized, some of the big traditional book companies, publishing companies, they have their own book review teams. And what they'll do is they'll send a book, often it's a print book, and then they'll ask bloggers to post online and, and post on Amazon or whatever, their reviews. And they have a certain system that they use, and, it's kind of fancy and everything. So I was like, how can we, as a small independent publishing company, do something similar and really, take some of the pressure off of me, for trying to find, get these initial reviews. And then once I get the initial reviews, I just let them come in organically. I don't worry about it after that initial push. But still, we've published over 50 books, 40 of them I've personally written, over 40. And so it's a lot of books. And so I was just like, what can I do? My turning point came when I decided, hey, we can form our own book review team. And I just did it very simply. I was looking for all kinds of plugins and all sorts of things to do it, kind of like the big guys do it. And finally I was like, you know what? I'm just going to form a new email list. I'm going to have my own sign up and I'm just going to do it. I now have almost 1,000 people signed up to my book review team. I can send out one email and get dozens of requests and people posting their reviews online just because I've taken the time and invested in forming a book review team. Now, everyone starts with one reviewer. That's where I started. I started with one, and I had to ask. But, I'm going to go into it in just a minute, 7 ways to find reviewers. But I recommend setting up a separate email subscriber list, having a sign-up page on your website, and then sending out an email when you have a new book to review. So that's the basic system I use. And I tell you in detail in my book, How to Get Honest Reviews, exactly what I do, the types of emails I send. but that's the basics of it. You can get started with something as simple as that. And so there's 7 ways to find reviewers or beta readers, and I'm just going to share these briefly with you. You can first of all share with your existing audience online. Some of you have built a platform, some of you have not. An author platform is just basically your website, social media, and email list. So, if you already have an existing audience, you can share with them that you're launching a book review team, and they can get an opportunity to read your books for free in exchange for posting reviews online. You can ask them to sign up to your email list. I normally send digital copies of my book, so it doesn't cost me anything. I send PDF and Mobi. You can send EPUB, however you want to send your files, but it doesn't cost me anything. I'm not sending print copies, and yet, it really works well. So you can share with your existing audience. And then, let me just do that. There we go. If you're looking for beta readers, you can share with any book reviewer team that you already have in place. Or if you've just had individuals that have reviewed books for you in the past and you know that they enjoyed your books, you can reach out to them again and ask them if they'd be interested in either being a beta reader or being on your book review team. You might want to consider being active in a few social media groups in your niche. So that was one thing that I did, especially in the beginning when I had very few people that were following me for my Christian books and, just trying to build my book reviewer team. I was very active in a few Facebook groups for Christian readers. Now, you have to be careful that it's not just a group of authors and, like a spam group where everyone's just posting their promotions. It really needs to be a group of readers that are actually interacting and active and that sort of thing. But I was posting in a few of the books, or in a few of the groups that I was really active in. I was giving value, I was interacting, and I shared that if they're interested, they can, read my books for free with my book review team. And I got some people to sign up that way. Also, you can ask those who email you or contact you on social media. So if somebody emails you and says, "Oh, I just read your book, I love it, it's such a great book," or if they tweet you or they mention you on Facebook, or they in a comment, maybe you post something on Facebook and then they mention you in a comment, you could reach out to them personally and say, "Thank you so much for your feedback on my book. Hey, I know that you enjoyed this book. Would you be interested in being part of my book review team? You'd be able to read my books, first and for free in exchange for posting a review online." And again, I know you don't like to ask. And I've had so many of my Author Audience Academy members, again, just give me pushback about this. "But Shelly, I don't want to ask. I don't want to ask. I don't want to ask." But you know what? It's okay to ask. And what I recommend my members do, and I actually have some canned responses or just some templates that they can use in the membership, but just write up a template that then you can just copy and paste. If you use Gmail, you can use canned responses and, ask people, that way. And that way you don't have to think about how to word it, how to say it. You come up with that one time and then you have that to ask. For a beta group, you can ask some personal friends and family. Now, I'd be careful about this for reviews because you don't want your mom or your sister or someone, posting necessarily reviews online. I mean, I'm not going to stop them if they do post them, but I don't specifically ask my immediate family members to post reviews just because of Amazon's terms of service says, any reviewer can't have a financial interest in the book. So if you're a contributor in the book, if somebody's edited your book, formatted your book, none of those types of people can post reviews for you. And I go into detail on this in my book, How to Get Honest Reviews. But for a beta group, your close family and friends are great. So for my beta group, my mom and my sister were both part of it. They're both counselors, and this book had a real counseling type feel. They were some of my best beta group members, and they gave me some of the best feedback. And so, that's something you can consider for beta groups. And then for my book review team, on our main website for a long time, and we still have it on our Body and Soul publishing site, although I don't use that site as much. But we had a link on the sidebar. It says, you love to read free books, read our books for free. And then it would be linked to our book review team. And that really generated a lot of people as well. And then you can make it part of your autoresponder sequence. So I have a list for Christian readers. And when they sign up for my list, they get a series of emails that comes out. And one of those emails says, would you love to read our books for free? Or something like that. I don't know exactly the subject line. And it introduces them to our book review team. It just happens automatically. And that our book review team continues to grow because of that. Those are just a few ways just to get your juices flowing. But it is now time to take action. I have been going nonstop for an hour, and now I want you to write down one thing you will do this week as a result of this training. Post it in the comments right now for accountability. What is one thing, one idea that you can do, you can take from this training and implement this week? Go ahead and post it in the comments right now. Carol D says, ask 4 people to be on my prayer team. Carol Strong says, form a prayer team. Linda, set up a prayer team of at least 3 people. Tanya, prayer team. Karen says, I will add to my prayer team and start a beta team. Evelyn, be more active with my prayer team. Jeff, start forming a prayer team. Kathy, set up a prayer team and book review team. Carmen says, we'll contact possible prayer team members. Peggy, I will develop a list of reviewers, at least 15. Yeah, so I'm seeing a lot of response. Eric says, time to get published and build the reviewer team. Beta group, 6 members will form a basic starting point. Yeah, exactly. And so I'm seeing beta group, prayer team. And so I want to ask you today if you would want more help in this process. There's several ways that you could take the next step and get help from me personally. The first is very easy. It's my book, How to Get Honest Reviews. You can download that as a Kindle book. It's print book. It's very inexpensive. You can get started and read that book, and that can help you set up a review team. I also am now hosting quarterly virtual writing retreats. My next writing retreat is March 10th and 11th. And these are like 2 intense work days. So you can either work on finishing your book and writing your book during those 2 days, or you can be setting up your prayer team and your book review team and doing all of the technical stuff and the behind the scenes stuff during those 2 days that we're together. I'm also there available to answer your questions. I'm there praying for you. And it's a really, really powerful 2 days. The last retreat we had, I got an entire marketing system set up. I mean, it was incredible for my book, Broken Crayons Still Color. And then finally, I have my group coaching program, Author Audience Academy. Carol D says, I read How to Get Honest Reviews and got a lot out of it. Great book for sure. Yeah. Kathy says, time to conquer my fear of failure and finish my books. Yes, be a finisher. That's what I say all the time. But not only did I get a lot done at my virtual writing retreat, but these are some of the results that those that attended got. Kim says, I finished the first draft of my children's book in 2 days. Rebecca says she wrote over 11,000 words in 2 days. Kevin Cunningham is a pastor, and he transcribed 18,946 words from sermons and wrote 5,000 words of new content during the time together. And then Author Audience Academy is really where I spend 90% of my time. I really invest a lot of time in my members there. And when you join Author Audience Academy, you get instant access to all my video training. It's, it's all inclusive. You can fit the training in your lifestyle. You can track your progress and continue where you left off at any time. What I teach in Author Audience Academy is the exact model I use to create a full-time income around my books and products. And I say these trainings represent the best of my brain and over a decade of experience in publishing and online marketing. And as I mentioned in the beginning, I've actually sold books. I'm not just, starting this author coaching thing on the side, like because I published a book last month. I actually do this, and I actually do it full-time. Tim Riordan says, I believe God brought Shelley into my life, not just to help me accomplish my life goals, but to help me make a difference in the lives of people around the world. I will forever be grateful to Shelley for her investment in my life, the difference it's made, and how it expanded my ministry and my influence. And Dr. Tim is a pastor as well, and he published a series called The Published Pastor. You'll also get accountability through our monthly writer's block parties. And this is where we actually meet together for community. You know, I've been talking about how important community is for writing, and we meet together, we write together for 2 hours, and it's a very productive time. But the thing I think that most of my members like the most is access to our private Facebook group. You get accountability, community, and personalized coaching. I just had someone post a comment in the group yesterday, I think, and she said, I'm a part of a lot of different groups, but this is the only group where, you know, the leader actually responds to you, and she's in here all the time and very active, and I'm in there every single day. So you'll get access to me daily in our private Facebook group to answer questions. You can find writing accountability partners. I was interviewing one of my members today for my podcast. I didn't even know this. She had found she had posted about wanting an accountability partner. She found an accountability partner. She said, Shelley, it has been the most amazing thing. It's a perfect fit for me. We're meeting every week, and it is just working. And I was like, oh my goodness, that just makes my heart sing, because I pray for things like that to happen in our community. You get support and encouragement. So, you know, people will post something, and one of my members this week posted, I'm having a lot of fear as I get ready to publish my book. Is this normal? Oh my goodness, everyone was interacting and commenting, and I said, oh yes. When I was writing my book, Broken Crayons Still Color, I had a lot of fear, and I've published over 40 books, but it's often a spiritual battle, and so we can support and encourage one another. Life as an author can get lonely, but you're not alone. But you get everything. It's an all-inclusive membership, and there's so many things packed away. These are just a few of the bonuses in the membership. Plus, you get a coach who is accessible daily and who truly cares, and prays for you by name each week. So I really try to commit to praying for each of my members by name every week, because like I said in the beginning, it's a spiritual battle, and I truly want to help you get results and to do what God has called you to do. And so I really believe in the power of prayer. One of my members, Jeannie Wise, says, what really surprised me the most was that I discovered this wonderful community led by Shelley, where we network, encourage each other, pray for one another, and share ideas and brainstorming. It has been a perfect fit for me to grow my platform and to grow as a writer and a speaker. Shelley exceeded my expectations then and continues to provide fresh and new ideas almost on a weekly basis. Author Audience Academy was the best purchase I made last year. And there's so much more. There's so much packed away in the membership. If I told you everything, oh my goodness, it would take us a few days. But you can get a free one-on-one coaching session with me. It's normally $199, but you can get that as an Author Audience Academy member. You can apply for that, and it will help you get clarity on your plan. You can also have the opportunity to be featured on my podcast when you are a member. But what if all this did was give you the personalized help and accountability you need to actually finish your book, or actually get reviews, set up your book review team, or whatever it is you need to do? What if all this did was give you a repeatable system you can use to publish your books and profit from them over and over again? What if all this did was help you finally get a system in place to help you sell more books over the long term? Would it be worth it? So, you know, this is a list of just everything that's included, and plus so much more. But what's the investment? Well, it's not $3,000. And believe me, I have colleagues that have similar programs that charge that much money. It's not even $1,500, and it's not even $500. It's actually $499 per year. And I would love to invite you to join our community. You can join at authoraudienceacademy.com/yes. And when you join during this webinar special, you will actually get to attend our next virtual writing retreat for free. So it's a $99 value. And, you know, when you purchase through this webinar link, authoraudienceacademy.com/yes, you'll find this in your member area under webinar bonuses. And then you also get plugins I had specifically developed. These are author leads, links and pages, and it helps you to set up landing pages and helps you to build your email list, and that's a $94 value. So I do have a 90-day money-back guarantee. So if you enroll in Author Audience Academy today, go through all of the modules, learn how to write, publish, and launch your own book from A to Z, come to all of our group coaching calls, get personalized help on and feedback writing and publishing your book, then, you know, if you're there in the member area and after 90 days, you don't feel this membership was worth what you paid for it, send us an email and we will happily refund all your money. Now, I do ask that you show me proof that you took action and that you did use the strategies we teach in the training. I'm committed to helping you get big results, but I only work with action takers. So if you come into the academy, you look around, you say, I don't think this is for me, can I have a refund? That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about you've actually done it, you've actually applied it, you've actually taken action, and you realize, you know, this wasn't for me. Then let me know, because I really want you to be satisfied. And if you're committed to finishing your book this year, you literally can't go wrong. So here's what happens next. The webinar special will end in about 72 hours. You can sign up at authoraudienceacademy.com/yes. This is what it will look like. There will be a timer on the page, and it will tell you, you know, what you get. You enter your payment information, and then you will get instant access to the member area. I'm going to go ahead and skip the tour right now so we have more time for Q&A. But I want you to write your success story. So what are my members saying? Alicia says, I cannot tell you how much progress I made on making my dream come true since I joined Author Audience Academy. Jeremy Ginn says, this group is one of the most helpful, motivating groups I've been part of. I love Shelley's heart to teach and encourage. Anne says, your academy was what overcame my overwhelm. There were too many things that had to be done. I was paralyzed over figuring out what I should do next. With your academy, you lay out the steps one by one, and I just have to do one little bite-sized bit, one at a time. And Dinetta, who goes by Christian Readers on Facebook, she was the one that said, she's like, I've been in a lot of groups, but this is the only one where you actually get answers. And so I would love to serve you and invite you to join our community at authoraudienceacademy.com/yes. And if you would like to download the bonus, the free bonus, since you stayed to the end, you can find it at shelleyhitz.com/review bonus. And what you do is just basically type in that URL and you will get that PDF. I put it in the chat box for those of you that are here live. Yeah, so Carmen, my next virtual writing retreat is tentatively scheduled for June 21st and 22nd. And then I'm planning one for October too. So yeah, if you're not able to come to this next one, you can come to another one within the same calendar year. Yeah, Karen Lindwall-Berg says, I love Author Audience Academy. Yes, I'm so excited that you connected with us and were able to get involved. And then now it is time for questions. So let me know in the chat box what questions you have. I'd be happy to answer some questions for the next 15 minutes or so. Let me grab a drink. So you can just post your questions in the chat box, whatever questions you have, and I will put this URL as well. Tanya says, thank you, Shelley, I have to go. My man wants supper. Great webinar. Thank you. Take action. Form your prayer routine. Get it started. Right. Any questions? Okay, Karen says, you send your books to reviewers in PDF format. How do you ensure the security of your content? So you can put like a watermark over it. You know, if you want. I typically am not, you know, too worried about that. Like, are you just worried like somebody's going to share that PDF? I've heard the quote before, you know, authors often worry about their content getting stolen. What they should be worried about is being, you know, in obscurity and not being known. And so I'm not really worried about it. If, you know, I trust my reviewers. If for some reason someone happens to pass something on, I'm going to leave that between them and God. You know, I'm just pray over it. Just pray that God would protect your content. And I personally just, it's more important to me to get honest feedback, to get reviews, to, you know, move forward. And I was telling this to someone on our coaching call for Author Audience Academy today. Like, we could be paralyzed by fear. You know, if you always think about what, you know, oh, what if this happens? You know, I don't want to do that because this could happen or this could happen. You know, you could send out print copies. It's going to cost you more, but you could do that if you wanted instead. But if we always think about those types of things and, you know, think about what could happen, it's going to stop us from doing anything. We probably will not even publish our book, or, you know, we won't just make the progress we could with the marketing because we're so worried. And like, what God has really been teaching me is to have faith in Him for His provision instead of having that spirit of scarcity. You know, I grew up, my grandparents were in the Depression. They had that scarcity mentality. I remember them fighting over whether or not they were to spend a quarter for something at a garage sale. Like, that's how like tight they were with their money. And yet, you know, it really benefited them. They were able to have money until my grandma passed away this couple months ago. But I guess my point is, I want to have more of an open, faith-filled thought towards my books instead of that scarcity mentality. What if someone does this? What if someone does that? What if someone does, you know, and fear. It's like, I want to trust. And yes, we need to be smart. We need to not just do things that are going to jeopardize our integrity or our reputation or our books. But in this particular case, I would just make sure that, you know, you could also make sure you know the people or that you trust the people. But I honestly, I don't worry about it. All right. Kathy says, thank you. I have to go. No problem. Karen says, I came in a little late. Is there a replay? As long as the recording works, I plan to have a replay for a limited time. And then this training will be in Author Audience Academy for members to view at any time. Carol says, my son needs me, so I have to jump off. Great content. Good night. Good night. Linda says, excellent presentation. So much I cannot think of any questions. Thank you. You're welcome. Jeff says, is your program for authors who have already published a book and are looking to boost marketing and sales? I write Christian defense fiction. So Jeff, it's for both. I have an entire module just on publishing your book. And I do focus mostly on nonfiction, but I do have several fiction members in the group that have benefited from it. The marketing part, I have an entire, like several modules on marketing. So it really is, it has just about everything that you need. I mean, and I'm always creating new trainings and content as I learn new things and as I do new things. But if you have any questions further about exactly what you need, you can always email me, Shelly@shellyhitz.com. Peggy says, such an answer to prayer. The webinar assisted me in completing the foundation I need for my book ministry. Awesome. I'm so happy. Carol says, that ran through my mind too before, if someone would steal your ideas if they pre-read it. I wouldn't worry about that, Carol. I mean, your book is already like to the point of, if you're getting beta readers, it's already to the point where you should be ready to publish it not too long after that point. And you can go through the process of copywriting with copyright.gov website. But I don't know, I've never had any problems with anyone like stealing my ideas, or I've never learned of people sharing my stuff online. And I'm sure that it could happen, it might happen, but I wouldn't worry about it, or I would just encourage you to take the steps that you need to, so that you can move forward with without being held back by those worries. Peggy says, have to go, be blessed. Thank you. Diane says, or Eric says, hi Diane, what I just finished writing was because someone specifically asked for it. Don't be afraid to ask what people want to hear about. Oh, I missed Diane's. She says, right now my biggest struggle is deciding on a focused topic. I have so many different ideas. Can a beta group be sent a variety of themes with brief content to get an idea of what idea to focus on? Yeah, so surveys can be very powerful, and you can actually have people, that sign up to a beta group or agree to be, beta readers and give you feedback, and you can ask them, to take a survey and say, which topics are you more interested in? I've had several members in my Author Audience Academy group, they've surveyed their email lists, or they've surveyed, survey online or on Facebook, or wherever your current audience is, or you could do it individually. But I've surveyed my list before to find out like what content to create next. I've surveyed my members. You can do surveys. What questions do people ask you a lot? What things do people come to you for? I have another webinar. It's at shellyhitz.com/formulas. It's a free webinar, and it helps you actually choose your topic. So that might be a good webinar for you to check out. I'll put the link in the comments. It's also in the Author Audience Academy, membership, all of that training. And then Eric says, hi Diane, what I finished writing was because someone specifically asked for it. Don't be afraid to ask what people want to hear about. Yeah. And so there's a lot of things you can do. You can research some of the best-selling books in your topic area. If a book is selling well on Amazon already, there's several books in that topic area already selling well, there's probably a demand for it. And, there's different things you can do. And again, I go through kind of the steps, and I have a certain formula that I take you through in my Book Formulas webinar. So I would encourage you to check that out. All right. Any final questions before I log off? Thank you so much for joining me. I always appreciate that you spend your time with me. Your time is your most valuable asset. And so I appreciate any time that you spend that time with me. Nicholas says, thank you so much. You're welcome. Diane says, thanks, Shelly and Eric, for your feedback. You're welcome. Kim Gowdy says, wow, thank you so much. Hey, Kim, you were, Kim Gowdy was part of my beta group. Do you have any feedback or comments to share with people about being part of my beta group, about how that process went? Because you got to see it firsthand. Evelyn says, thank you. This was great information. You're welcome. Jeff says, thank you. Great job. God bless. Thank you. You're welcome. Yeah, so Kim was part of the beta group. Says you were amazing, so real and honest, and you worked so hard. Yeah. Oh my goodness. That was an intense season. It was. Definitely. But I mean, you saw too how I got so much feedback and help from the beta group. I mean, you were some of, one of the people that was giving me information and content and helping me. So I really appreciate that. Carol says, thank you for your presentation. I always leave with a nugget from all your presentations. I did send a question to you. Oh, okay. Yeah, so whoever says, what were the 3 reasons every Christian author should have a prayer team, I will, there should be a replay. You can also find on my YouTube channel a video. If just search Prayer Team on my YouTube channel. Carol Strang says, how can I find email subscriber lists? Are they any that are free to use? Yeah, so, you know, the free list, you get what you pay for. When it's free, and you don't get a lot of the extra benefits. So a free service a lot of authors use is MailChimp. So you could start with MailChimp, and they're free up to 2,000. And then, you know, once you grow your email list more than that, then you could transfer, you know, and import them into another email subscriber system that gives you more features. That's a paid email subscription list. And so there's a ton of different email subscriber services out there, you know, that you can use. In my free platform challenge, I talk a little bit about that. You can go to, let's see, shellyhitz.com/platform challenge. And I also talk a lot about it in Author Audience Academy. And I walk you step by step through several of the most common email providers on exactly how to set it up. So all of that is in the Academy. Yeah, Kim also said about the beta group and a huge encouragement. Lives are being changed through the process. Yes, it was so amazing. Eric says, this has been great and very worthwhile. And now it's now midnight, so time for bed before my brain shuts down. Thank you for staying up. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and close down this webinar. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for spending this time with me. I appreciate that you're here and that you spent this time. Again, I would love to work with you on a more personalized basis in my group coaching program, Author Audience Academy. If you have any questions, if this is a good fit for you, just email me, shelly@shellyhitz.com. Make sure it's spelled SHELLEY at SHELLEYHITZ.com. And if you're ready to sign up, you can sign up at authoraudienceacademy.com/yes. Remember, we do have these webinar-only bonuses. You get access to my next virtual writing retreat, or within the this calendar year, you can sign up. And you get the Author Leads plugins and some other unannounced bonuses as well. So you can only get those if you sign up through the webinar. So I would look forward to seeing you on the inside of Author Audience Academy. And thank you so much for coming. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.